Magandang Ara. Today we bring you a clear-eyed account from the South China Sea, where a major multinational exercise has drawn both allied navies and the watchful eyes of others into a careful, contested choreography on the water and in the skies. For more than a week, warships and aircraft from 5 nations have been operating together under the banner of Balikatan 2026. The drills are intended to sharpen interoperability, the ability of different militaries to plan, communicate and operate as one, and to rehearse defences that range from routine refueling at sea to complex layered air and missile defence. But as the exercises proceeded, forces from another power moved into the vicinity, conducting their own observations and surveillance. The result is an exercise that is both cooperative and highly attentive. Cooperative among the participating allies, attentive to the presence of others who monitor those activities from nearby waters and airspace. From the Philippine side, the R&D presence. Frontline account came from the BRP Miguel Malvar and its commanding officer, Captain Paul Michael Hechenova. He reported the presence of several foreign vessels and aircraft shadowing the multinational drills that began at sea on April 24. As he described the scene, for the duration of this activity, we detected so far 4 PLA Navy warships around the vicinity. The exercise starting from our day 1 at sea on the 24th of April until today. We also monitored 3 aircraft, from them flying around 1 fixed-wing aircraft, their maritime patrol aircraft, 1 unmanned system flying above 20,000 feet, and 1 helicopter coming from one of their warships. Those observations were specific. Among the seagoing platforms being tracked were vessels identified as a Jiankai 3rd class frigate, a Jiankai 2nd class frigate, a Yunkai 2nd class frigate, a Luoyang class destroyer, and a Dangdiao class intelligence gathering ship. 2 Coast Guard vessels were also monitored in the area. In the air, the Philippine Navy report. At a fixed-wing maritime patrol aircraft, a shipborne helicopter and an unmanned aerial vehicle operating above 20,000 feet. Despite their proximity and obvious surveillance posture, Captain Hechenova made a point that will matter for diplomats and sailors alike. Generally okay naman sila cordial ang behavior, nila sa aten. No confrontation, no radio challenges, they're just here monitoring our activity. That restraint is important. Multinational exercises like these are designed to be visible, to rehearse collective responses, and to strengthen bonds among navies and air forces. This week's Maritime Cooperative Activity, or MCA, brought together 8 ships under the on-scene command of BRP Miguel Malvar. They included BRP Antonio Luna, BRP Capes Ang Augustin, USS Ashland, USACG Midget, JS Ikasuchi, MHMC Shortertown. Participating nations were the Philippines, the United States, Japan, Australia and Canada. The MCA practiced close maneuvering, communications, zipline and the skills needed to operate as a single seagoing force. A practical measure to build trust and to rehearse the tactical language of modern coalition naval operations. The MCA took place roughly 40 nautical miles from Bajo de Masinloc, an area often at the center of competing maritime claims and intense strategic interest. For the navies on scene, the exercise was the 6th day of maritime drills and part of the 9th day of the overall Balikatan schedule. In clear terms, the participating commanders said they achieved the exercise's objectives. Generally, achieved nating ang lahat ang objectives ang le ating exercise. And the most important thing is that we accomplish it safely and successfully. But fleet maneuvers were only one part of a broader training agenda. Air defense and anti-drone operations took center stage on land off the coast of Zambales, where combined live-fire exercises tested short-range missile systems and interceptor weapons. The Philippine and US forces conducted anti-drone training in San Antonio, Zambales, using a mix of short-range missiles and shoulder-fired systems in concert with integrated air defense assets. US units used Stinger missiles fired from Avenger air defense systems to engage training drones as part of the scenario. The Marine Air Defense integrated system was credited with intercepting a Banshee drone at an altitude of roughly 9,000 feet. Philippine and American troops also practiced using crew-served weapons and machine guns against small, low-flying unmanned aircraft. Major Xerxes Trinidad of the Armed Forces of the Philippines summed up the approach and intent plainly. Hindi Amano Ito Para Mag Provoke, Mingi Abang Banza, Kundi Pagahanda Lamangsa, Posibleng Banza. That line, that the exercises are precautionary and designed to prepare rather than provoke, speaks to the careful messaging that accompanies such multinational drills. Defense planners emphasize preparation, build, the skills necessary to detect, track, and, when necessary, defeat aerial and maritime threats to territorial or allied assets. For the air defense drills, the emphasis was on an integrated, layered approach. As one officer explained, integrated air missile defense is an approach in conducting air defense operation. So it is a comprehensive, layered defense that composed of weapons system, command and control, and sensor system. In practice, that means multiple sensors feeding a common operational picture, commanders at sea and ashore, able to make quick decisions, and weapon systems arrayed to defeat threats at different ranges and altitudes. The sequence begins with detection. Early warning radars and sensors search the skies for unknown tracks. Once a track is evaluated and, if necessary, categorized as hostile, that track is distributed across command and control networks and relayed to the appropriate weapon systems. Those weapons can include everything from short-range interceptors and Avenger missiles to ground-based systems and shipboard point defense arms. As described during the exercises, once now considered NATO hostile, then it will be distributed or relayed on our air defense systems such as Yoon at 18 Spider, Yoon at 18 Martising US, and then the Vampire and the Avengers and Yongmunga weapon system NAPO to shoot down air and missile threats. That mixture of sensors, data links, and diverse weapons is what defense planners mean by a layered defense. It is not just hardware, it is doctrine, coordination, and practice. It is also a learning process. The Philippine Air Force highlighted the role of its 960th Air and Missile Defense Wing in the Balikatan Integrated Air and Missile Defense drills. The unit conducted simulated engagements aimed at sharpening operational proficiency in ground-to-air defense and at enhancing its ability to integrate with allied systems. Participation in these exercises is intended to reveal capability gaps and to idea roadmap for improvements back home. As the Air Force put it, activities like these, Samusi Porta Sa Lion and in Air Force now Bamu Ong Ing Asan mission ready, capability driven at values-based in our organization. The live fire exercises in Zambaos were scheduled to last 4 days, and they are only one element of a broader series of military activities planned across different parts of the Philippines through the first week of May. The drills are deliberately expansive sea maneuvers and refueling at sea, coordinated air defenses and missile simulations, and small unit, hands-on training against the kinds of unmanned systems that represent a fast-growing challenge on modern battlefields. 2 threads run through this week's activity. The first is operational. Allied forces demonstrated the ability to plan and execute coordinated, multi-domain defenses at sea, in the air, and in integrated coastal zones. The second is diplomatic and strategic, the presence of observer ships and aircraft. Feed from another regional power underlines the high-stakes backdrop to what might otherwise be routine defense training. That presence has been described by naval observers on the scene as monitoring rather than confrontational. Captain Hechenova's report reflected this judicious tone. They're just here monitoring our activity. When an exercise is visible and well publicized, it invites attention. How that attention is managed, whether with restraint or whether aggressive signals, can determine whether a week of training remains a week of training or becomes a flashpoint. It is worth noting the human element throughout. Exercises like Balikatan are meant to create working relationships, the sorts of habits and common phrases of mutual understanding that reduce the risk of miscalculation when ships and aircraft encounter one another in crowded seas. The maritime cooperative activity, the on-scene command arrangements, the shared radio procedures, the repeated drills of maneuver, and communication. These are practical steps toward predictability. As one commander put it after the MCA, the important thing was both accomplishing objectives and doing so safely. And the most important thing is that we accomplish it safely and successfully for sailors and airmen. That safety is not accidental. It is the product of disciplined watchstanding, strict adherence to rules of engagement, and the cultivation of professional behavior, even in stressed environments. For diplomats and policymakers, the exercises provide a visible demonstration of solidarity and capability. For regional observers and analysts, they are a reminder that the maritime and aerial domain around the Philippines remains central to broader questions of security, commerce, and sovereignty. Equally, the anti-drone and air defense training point to changing priorities in modern warfare. Small, inexpensive unmanned systems have proliferated around the world and are now an operational concern for both Mili Tarries and regulators. Counter-drone tactics range from electronic warfare to kinetic interception. During the live fire segment, the Avenger system and shoulder-fired Stingers were used in a testing environment to demonstrate short-range intercept options. The Marine Air Defense Integrated Systems engagement of a Banshee target illustrated the need for layered defenses that can address both small drones and higher, faster threats. As defense officers noted, practical experience in these scenarios helps identify capability shortfalls that can be addressed in training cycles and procurement decisions once units return to their home bases. There is a broader message too. Exercises like Balikatan convey a strategic posture that the countries involved are investing time and resources to practice collective defense and to signal a commitment to regional stability. They are not declarations of hostility, they are investments in readiness. We learned a lot from our allies, a drill party. Sibut reflected, we determined our gaps on that, and when we come back home, we will address that gaps in order for us to perform well in our duty. As these units complete the scheduled activities and prepare to return to port, a few tensions will remain. The presence of foreign surveillance assets will be noted in diplomatic channels. Commanders, meanwhile, will file their after-action reports, cataloguing successes and noting where communications, sensors, or weapon systems did not perform to expectations. Those reports will inform training programs, procurement choices, and future exercises. For now, the week's narrative is one of careful professionalism. Coalition forces practicing complex maneuvers, layered defenses being exercised and refined, and observers present. But according to the on-scene commanders, restrained. There is one final point that threads through all this. Preparedness is not only about hardware, it is about practice, trust, and transparency. When allied, VIAs and air forces can move together, refuel at sea, coordinate sensors, and conduct integrated air defenses. They share a language of operations. That language reduces the likelihood that two ships or aircraft will misread one another when they cross paths. That in turn reduces the risk that routine monitoring will escalate into an incident. In the coming days, defense planners will debrief, analysts will digest footage and logs, and commanders will translate lessons into drills at home. For observers in the region, the activity